always unfold. Alex and I can cry out loud, beat the truth. Scream for justice like a fever, broken youth. Every word's a bullet tearing through the night. In this war of words.
And we are live. Our guest today is, by the way, welcome everyone. This is Sitrep, and I am your host, Inform PH. And our guest today is National Security Analyst, Mr. Justin Bakisal. You can follow him on Twitter or X at Justin underscore Bakisal. He represents Facts Asia. It's a platform dedicated to expert analysis on issues such as current affairs, technology and security, immigration policy, international defense partnership, Philippine defense, and foreign policy. So, welcome to our podcast, Justin.
Hello, hello. Maraming salamat for inviting me. And of course, good evening or
So,
good day
I'm
to our
yes,
listeners.
yes. Thank you for sparing your time to be with us on this podcast. So tell us about yourself, something about yourself, Justin. How did you start in the industry, and what keeps you busy nowadays?
Right. So ako, I used to be formerly with the Philippine government. So I really worked on national security portfolios for the last 7, 8 years with the Philippine government. So I had experience working at the Office of the President as well as at the Department of National
Mm-hmm.
Defense. So the way I look at yung mga geopolitical issues na to, it's always from the lens of national Philippine defense and military policy. One of which, of course, is yung pinakamainit ngayon, yung South China Sea or West Philippine Sea issue na to. But then, I also look at Philippine foreign policy, meaning to say, hindi lang yung nangyayari sa Scarborough Shoal, for example, or sa Second Thomas Shoal. Tinitingnan ko rin yung relations between Philippines and China, Philippines and the United States. So, ever since before, ito talaga yung linya ko. Although right now, I am already in the private sector. I conduct independent analysis ng mga national security issues.
Okay, Justin. Before we talk about the main topic, let's talk about what is happening right now with the West Philippine Sea. So it has relatively been quiet in the news, but I think the latest news that we have in relation to WPS. Can you give us a rundown of what happened with the current uh, actions by China? They continue to display dangerous maneuvers. This time around, they have deployed flares near Philippine military aircraft patrolling Scarborough Shoal. Ano nangyari doon? Why were they are now engaged with this kind of actions, not just in the sea but also in the air?
Right. So, kung maaalala natin, no, nagkaroon ng bloody encounter between yung Chinese Coast Guard as well as the Armed Forces of the Philippines noong July, no. And that
Mm.
raised yung tension sa region at nagkaroon ng usapin kung magkakaroon ba ng gulo between Philippines and China doon sa resupply natin sa Ayungin Shoal sa BRP Sierra Madre. And then a few days or weeks after that, nagkaroon ng agreement ang China and
Mm.
Philippines to keep tensions down. And that, of course, hindi publicized yung contents of that agreement, but yung gist or the bottom line nun is that nag-agree yung China and Philippines to dial down tensions. And so far, hindi nagkakaroon ng major harassment ng resupply mission ng Philippine military at ng ating Coast Guard sa
Right.
mga sundalo natin sa BRP Sierra Madre. So, for me, that's a major policy win for the Marcos administration na nagkaroon tayo ng de-escalation with China in July. However, ngayong August, first week of August, nagkaroon na naman ng incident sa
Mhm.
Scarborough Shoal. So yung Scarborough Shoal is malapit ito sa coast ng Northern Luzon, no? Mas malapit ito sa Luzon than it is sa Palawan actually. Yung Chinese aircraft ay nag-release ng flares right in front of a patrol aircraft by the Philippine military. So it's actually a rare incident kasi usually hindi nagkakaroon ng ganitong incident between the Philippines and ng China, and yet ngayon they conduct this. No? So nagkakaroon ngayon ng questions whether sincero ba talaga yung China doon sa agreement in July wherein they agreed to de-escalate the tensions. Because ngayon, obviously tumataas yung tensions, and this is of course a dangerous provocation on the part ng China to release flares in front of aircraft kasi naturally, no, kung if for example hindi magaling yung piloto ng aircraft na yon, maaaring magkaroon yun ng aerial incident wherein let's say mabagsak yung eroplano ng Philippine military. So of course that is a major incident. And you know, to put it into context, ginagawa ito ng China against different countries such as the United States, such as Australia, Canada even, and also Japan, for example. So yung ganitong tactic really is a repetition of yung usual bullying tactics ng China to try to intimidate yung mga actors around the South China Sea as well as the East China Sea, as well as, you know, within the Pacific Ocean.
Ano yung naging response ng Philippines in relation to that incident? Was there condemnation or did we file any diplomatic protest about the incident?
Yes. So ang Philippines, we filed a complaint against China, the Chinese embassy dito sa Manila after this incident. No? So at the tactical level, when the incident happened during the first week of August, of course, naturally, the AFP communicated its condemnation of the maneuver. But during the encounter itself, syempre, the AFP was professional enough to not have tried to respond tit for tat or to respond back against yung ginawa ng China against our patrol aircraft. No? And then, of course, a week after that, no, the Armed Forces of the Philippines, in coordination with DFA and, of course, under direction from Malacanang, they filed a protest against China with respect to this.
Okay, so we are still practicing what we call maximum tolerance, no, in relation to that incident. So let's go to Sabina Shoal. So laman ng news kasi lately is what is happening in that shoal. So tell us what is the current situation there? Kasi I'm reading an article. It says that we have correct me if I'm wrong, a Navy ship going on its way there to relieve a grounded ship. Kasi nga parang there is an increased Chinese presence around the area. What is happening in Sabina Shoal, Justin? Can you give our viewers like a quick rundown lang with Sabina Shoal?
Right. So ang Sabina Shoal actually ngayon, no, naka-deploy yung BRP Teresa Magbanwa sa Sabina Shoal since April pa to, because nagkaroon ng fear yung Pilipinas na nagkakaroon ng reclamation activities na naman yung China in that area. No? So hindi na to bago because obviously in many parts of the South China Sea nagkakaroon ng illegal reclamation yung China since way back 2014. So of course, it is only natural na nagpadala yung Pilipinas ng mga personnel doon para matyagan, no, kung ano yung ginagawa ng China. Ngayon, kabaliktaran naman, nag-aakusa yung China against the Philippines that the Philippines intends to build ang tinatawag na forward operating base in Escoda or Sabina Shoal. No? So may ganong fake news na nanggagaling from China, which is of course denied by the Philippine government because naturally, if you've seen, no, actually ever since despite yung militarization ng China of a few islands and features in the South China Sea, actually ang Philippines has not actually tried to reclaim many of these features. So actually the Philippines still adheres to what we pretty much call a status quo in the South China Sea, whereas, you know, it's China that's been trying to revise all of these So ngayon yung China is saying that yung BRP Teresa Magbanwa is sort of aiding that construction of a base in that area, but of course the Philippine government has denied this, and naturally yung China has beefed up yung presence in Sabina Shoal. So there are a few large Coast Guard vessels by China currently in that area. Of course, again, it's an intimidation tactic against the Philippines, so that's where we stand.
Around Sabina Shoal, tama ba? Kasi I've seen a news clipping. Around Sabina Shoal, there are already several militarized islands by the reclamation activities done by China. How
Yes,
near
correct.
are these militarized islands from Sabina Shoal? Malayo ba to? Malapit lang. It's like a bird's eye. Makikita mo siya, bird's eye view. Parang may
Actually,
nakita
hindi mo siya.
akong a video of a plane, and then it parang nakikita niya na yung mga buildings, there are a runway. Tama ba? Is it near Sabina Shoal, itong militarized, well, quote-unquote militarized islands ng China?
Yes, actually ang Sabina Shoal is pinakamalapit ito sa Second Thomas Shoal or yung Ayungin Shoal, no? So actually yung nakikita natin sa BRP Sierra Madre ng mga clashes is not very far from Sabina Shoal, no? Pero of course, we're talking here about maritime distances, no? So that's around yung pagitan ng Sabina Shoal and ng Ayungin Shoal is actually around 60 kilometers. So naturally hindi siya tanaw na tanaw from Sabina Shoal. So these are separate locations for the military. Pero lahat naman ito, yung Sabina Shoal, yung Ayungin Shoal, these are all part ng Spratly group of islands, no? So which of course part of it is being claimed by the Philippines as part of our sovereign territory.
Okay, thank you for giving us an update dun sa nangyayari sa Sabina Shoal. So let's welcome our co-host. Dimas is here with us. Dimas, are you there? Can you say hello to our listeners and viewers of Sitrep? Is he here?
Yes, sir. Hello to the viewers and especially to our esteemed guest, Mr. Justin Bakwaisal. I can say that I am one of your fan. I've watched and hear your interviews with Richard Hyderan, and um, I use your arguments against particularly one political segment of our our political landscape. I have also a question, Sir Bakwaisel, if you may. Um, let's say yung yung archipelagic self defense. It is more of diba? It is a paradigm shift of our defense strategy to be more previously inward to be more outward against external threat. And my question, Mr. Bakwaisal, is how can our government implement this archipelagic self-defense posture given the limited resources that we have?
Right. So I think very important concept to, no? Yung archipelagic defense concept para sa kaalaman ng leaders. Historically, no, ang Philippine military kasi is internally oriented. So ang number one concerns talaga natin would be terrorism, yung local communist insurgency, and then previously, of course, yung secession or rebellion in Mindanao. Ngayon, over the past decade, more or less, no, naging stable yung ating domestic security environment. Hindi na siya, kumbaga, existential or life-threatening problems on the part of the Philippine government. Ngayon, kaakibat nun, in the last decade, of course, we have seen the maritime encroachment of China, not just in Philippine exclusive economic zone, but at many times as well, malapit na to Philippine archipelagic and territorial waters. So, parallel developments yun na nagkaroon ng improvement in local security, and then yung external environment natin ngayon, we are facing maritime encroachment from China, hindi lamang sa South China Sea, but also in the northern part of the Philippines, no? particularly doon malapit sa Philippine Rise. Beginning around 2018, nagkaroon ng mga suspicious surveillance by Chinese alleged research ships in that area. Of course, the Philippine government doesn't believe that kasi yung Philippine rice is 100% legally claimed lang ng Philippines. No? Walang ibang disputant claimant doon. It's only the Philippines. Yun ay nasa northeast ng Pilipinas. No? That's off the coast ng Cagayan and Isabela province. So actually, yung threat of China in the recent years has expanded. Hindi na lang siya in the South China Sea but also in the northeast ng Pilipinas, no. So, having said that, no, yung archipelagic defense strategy ng Philippines actually started in 2012. No. The goal of this is may multiple components yan. Number one, of course, is to modernize the AFP and orient it toward external defense and particularly maritime and air operations within our exclusive economic zone. So if you look at it, ever since nagsimula yung revised AFP modernization program natin, no, actually nakaangkla na yun dun sa concept na yun that we have to project power outwards, palabas ng ating shoreline because we have to meet China's aggression in our exclusive economic zone and farther out into the sea. As you can see from the map, no, these are a few hundred kilometers away from the Philippine coastline. No? So naturally, of course, hindi siya army-centric. This is definitely a job for the Philippine Navy and the Philippine Air Force, and that's why we're building up. Pero, just to point out, no, actually, under the current administration, I think nagkaroon sila ng magandang interpretation of how can we actually defend an archipelagic country. So obviously, na-realize ng admin na you cannot match China ship for ship. No? Naturally, it has an advantage in the number of vessels in the South China Sea. And therefore, beginning this administration, actually, nag-focus tayo on yung tinatawag natin na anti-access area denial technologies. Meaning to say, hindi natin goal to match China at every engagement in the theater because obviously, asymmetric yung conflict. They have more military hardware than us. So what the Philippines is doing is we are building a limited fleet which is kumbaga enough lang to be able to capably project a force presence in the West Philippine Sea area and along other parts of our EEZ as well. Pero ngayon nagkakaroon ng development in missile technology as well. So yung BrahMos technology, for example, 'di ba, na binibili ng Marine Corps, ng Army, all of these, yung BrahMos actually is a deterrent weapon against Chinese ships. So yung goal niyan is, okay, we cannot match China ship for ship, but yung naval vessels or yung Coast Guard nila would be threatened to operate close to our shorelines if we have missile defenses scattered along the Philippine archipelago. So it's a combination of naval power and ngayon yung missile technology na to, which are based in inland, no? Which these are based within Philippine territory. Usually, ang plano kasi dito is itago yung mga missile na yon along mga bulubundukin na area ng western part ng Philippines, which it would provide it concealment and cover para hindi sila madaling matunton ng China, for example, in the event of a conflict. So, yun yung goal ng ating archipelagic defense strategy is to project power into the exclusive economic zone. Pero we also rely on asymmetric aspects ng conflict na to. And this is where the missile technology becomes very important. If we have to remember, in 2014, nung nagtayo ang China ng missiles, ng bases around Fiery Cross, Subi Reef, etc. No? These are all parts ng South China Sea. For the first time in history, nagkaroon ng direct military threat to the Philippines. Kasi for the great part of our history, ang South China Sea is a buffer zone ng Philippines. No, we don't share land borders with any neighbor, and that's protected us from a lot of the main conflicts that happened within Southeast Asia during the Cold War. But because nagtayo ng bases yung China beginning in 2014 in the South China Sea at nilagyan nila ng mga airstrip, missile technology, etc. yung South China Sea, many of these technologies na tinayo nila in the South China Sea are now in range ng capital natin in Manila, and many of them are actually in range ng mga military bases natin sa Palawan, sa Cavite, etc. So the archipelagic defense strategy actually tries to negate yung mga advances ng China in the South China Sea, particularly yung construction nila ng military bases. So, actually, it's wrong to say that we're just trying to have a military build-up to counter China. Kasi ang assumption nun is parang we are going to match China on an even basis, which we'll never be able to do that. So we are looking at cost-effective strategies on how to nullify yung advantage ng China in these islands, which is basically more reliance on missile technology. Another advantage kasi ng Philippines is geographically mas malapit kasi tayo in the contested waters. So what that means is that we actually have a better, theoretically speaking, meron tayong mas magandang logistics and military support infrastructure in the event of a conflict sa South China Sea. And the government is actually developing yung mga military bases natin, not just sa West Philippine Sea, but also in parts of sa Luzon, for example, that are able to support any contingency or response effort ng Pilipinas. Kasi actually, and for me, yun yung pinakamagandang development ng defense policy natin ngayon. Kasi for the longest time, ang assumption kasi natin, magpapadala tayo ng ship, magpapadala yung China ng ship, magkakaroon tayo ng naval confrontation, and then that's it. No? Pero in reality, actually, if we're talking about a protracted conflict with China, we're talking about military sustainment. So kailangan talaga nating magtayo or to refurbish the military facilities that we have sa Palawan so that we can send more surveillance vessels, we can launch more ships from that standpoint. So I think yung archipelagic defense strategy ng administration at the moment, I actually I'm very supportive of it kasi it focuses on military logistics na hindi lang siya actually yung mga nakikita natin na individual encounter between Chinese ships and Philippine ships. We're actually talking about confrontations between the Philippines and China that involve multiple military assets, and that's what the administration is trying to correct right now. So hindi lang tayo bumibili ng mga ships at the moment, no? Kasi nung Duterte admin, naturally we had good progress sa purchase ng naval vessels at the time, which is correct. But under this current admin, we are also focusing sa military basing, sa missile technology, air defense technology. No? So all of these things, pag kinumbine mo dun sa pag-increase ng number ng ships ng Pilipinas, all of these things are actually make us more capable to defend from China.
Thank you for the answer, Sir Bakuisan. Just to follow up, Sir Bakuisan, do you think yung we all know that US is establishing EDCA sites here, and based on the reports, they are housing, or they store war materials or anti-ship, anti-aircraft missiles, short-base air defense system in those EDCA sites. Do you think our alliance with the US is a deterrent itself, Mr. Bakuisal, especially in lieu of the EDCA sites? Although report says that only one EDCA site was still establishing right now. Do you think ano po yan? It is a deterrent itself, the presence of the EDCA sites here?
Oh, actually ako tingin ko talaga no. Very important yung US presence because simulan muna natin no sa bakit nga ba tayo nagkakaroon ng cooperation with the United States. And nagkakaroon tayo ng cooperation with the US is for a simple reason, di ba? That China being a great power is not it's not a problem that the Philippines can deal with alone. That's the reason why kumukuha tayo ng defense partners such as Japan, the United States, Australia even, to help us yung tinatawag na balance of power. Meaning to say, yung number ng military assets on the ground. Naturally, it will be very expensive for the Philippines to counteract China on its own. That's why we leverage yung alliances natin. Now, it doesn't mean na lahat ng conflict ng United States, the Philippines has to join the United States. So for example, hindi naman involved ang Philippines sa mga gulo in the Middle East at the moment. Yung Philippines is not having a lot of support, for example, sa conflict ng Ukraine versus Russia and the United States supporting Ukraine. So it's actually untrue yung criticism na we are veering too close to the United States. Kasi actually, pag tinignan mo yung nature ng relationship ng Philippines and the United States ngayon, actually, mas marami tayong nahihita or nakukuha from them than we are actually giving back to the United States. No? And, alam naman yan ng United States na asymmetric talaga yung nature ng alliance natin with them, and that even if, meron tayong tinatawag na mutual defense treaty sa kanila, more or less, realistically, it's actually the US helping the United States most of the time. The US helping the Philippines most of the time. So, understood naman nila yon. Ngayon, on the question of does it help yung tinatawag na deterrence, yes. I do firmly believe, kasi if you look at it, yung US presence in Asia is actually what deters China from further expanding into the region. If you notice, every time na nagkakaroon ng major move or project by China in the South China Sea and closer toward the Philippines, ang context niyan lagi is nagkakaroon ng power vacuum in the region. So we have to remember 1995, 'di ba, nangyari yung Mischief Reef incident, na sinabi ng China hindi sila magtatayo ng facility sa Mischief Reef in the South China Sea, which is claimed by the Philippines, by the way, as part of its exclusive economic zone. Pero they built anyway. Ano yung context nun? Bakit nila ginawa yon? Because 1991, pinalayas ng Pilipinas yung US presence in the Philippines. So between 1991 and the late 1990s, merong power vacuum in the region. And China understood na it is an opportunity for them to expand. Kasi nga, wala yung US dito eh. Ngayon, so bumalik yung United States presence in the Philippines because of the visiting forces agreement, pero very limited. Actually, for the last decade, there have only been less than 1,000 US personnel that are based in the Philippines as advisors or trainers ng Philippine military na rotationally deployed dito. 1,000. So that's actually a very small number. Just to give you in context, for example, in South Korea and Japan, they have dozens of thousands of troops deployed there. And it benefits the Philippines because, number one, we have a small military. So not just in terms of headcount, parang around 200,000 or less yung military natin, but in terms of equipment. And that's the major problem ng Philippines. We don't have enough assets such as an aircraft fleet, a naval fleet. So all of these things, alam yan ng China. And China is actually afraid na magkaroon ng significant American military presence here in the Philippines because alam nila that pag nagkaroon ng US presence sa Philippines, that will correct yung tinatawag na balance of power with respect to China. So actually, kung titignan mo, bakit nga ba ino-oppose ng China itong EDCA? Is it really because tingin nila sinusulsulan lang tayo ng US? Or is it because yung EDCA is actually a kind of military policy that checks their ambitions? So, yung US is helping us. Pag tinignan mo yung pattern ng EDCA sites, yung US is helping us repair air facilities, mga airport in Luzon. It is helping us build naval bases in parts of Palawan and also in northern Luzon. The US is now committing $500 million in additional foreign military assistance to the Philippines. And right now, of course, they are also committing yung assistance sa Philippines for missile technology as well. So all of these things, pag tinignan mo talaga siya, it helps the region correct yung balance of power vis-a-vis China. So actually, yun yung dahilan kung bakit galit yung China. Kasi actually, what China wants from the Philippines is for the Philippines to have a weak military. And kaya tingnan mo naman, yung mga previous presidents who don't stand up to China, very receptive yung China toward that. In fact, they support those kinds of candidates. Kasi alam nila that if you really look at it, kahit na wala tayong gulo with China, if the Philippines has tensions, even if we don't have tensions with China, naturally, ang military posture talaga ng Pilipinas is anti-China, no matter how you look at it. Kasi kapag merong strong military yung Philippines, that means we are able to patrol our exclusive economic zone. That means that China cannot have unimpeded access to the South China Sea. It cannot have unimpeded access along the Bashi Channel north of the Philippines, no? And sometimes nagkakaroon din ng Chinese passage sa Sibutu Passage, which is in the southern Philippines, no, sa may bandang Sulu na yan. Nung Duterte administration, I think dumaan dun yung Liaoning na aircraft carrier ng China, unharassed by the way, which is very provocative on the part ng Philippines. So, all of these things, no, pag tinignan mo talaga siya, yung military posture talaga ng Philippines is the defense of the Philippines is for China a bad thing for them. So, yun yung in simple terms, no, wag na nating lagyan ng jargon, na yung defense posture ng Pilipinas, ang interest talaga ng China there is to weaken the Philippine military. That's it. Tanggalin na yung lahat ng palabok dyan talaga. Kahit na friends ang Philippines and China, regardless of the administration, magkakaroon tayo ng mga gulo na yan because structural yung nature ng problem natin with respect to China eh. Na ayaw nila that we are defending yung perimeter areas ng Philippines. And naturally, of course, we are pushing back against that. So yun yung reason why nagkakaroon tayo ng conflict. And if you think about it, yung cooperation with the US is to aid us in that national objective na to defend the Philippines. Now, I do understand na hindi lahat ng interest ng United States is also the interest of the Philippines. So for example, at the moment, no, si President Marcos said that yung Taiwan Strait, no, contingency, it's a matter of concern for the Philippines, but naturally, ang priority pa rin ng Philippines is to defend yung territory natin. So whether or not we will help out in a Taiwan contingency or other contingencies for that matter in the region, that's a separate matter altogether. And my understanding is that para sa Pilipinas, second-rate concern yan eh. Ang main concern talaga natin is to defend our territory. So merong ganong fear, ang tawag doon ay entrapment, no? Meaning to say, kapag nag-partner tayo with the United States, we will be entrapped in kung ano yung foreign policy requirements ng United States. We have to help them, etc. But actually, very unrealistic yun eh. What you actually see right now is actually it's the United States helping the Philippines rather than the other way around. Kasi if you look at it, wala naman talaga tayong ambag sa United States at the moment, frankly speaking. Yung ambag natin is that by standing up to China, we help correct yung regional balance of power, which is also in the interest ng United States, di ba? 70% of its global trade passes through the South China Sea. So, meron ding economic motivation why they want to defend the South China Sea. And walang problema doon, di ba? Because every country is self-interested. Meron talaga tayong national security interests that we are out to protect. So I don't think yung alignment with the Philippines, ng Philippines sa United States at the moment is necessarily a bad thing. Very transactional nga yung relation, in fact, in my opinion, because malinaw yung Philippine policy. We are engaging in this partnership with the United States, help us repair our bases, help us with financing para mapondohan natin yung AFP modernization program. Kasi if hindi tayo mag-accept ng foreign help about this, no, we have to get the money somewhere. So kung yung pera na sana magagamit natin in education, pera na magamit mo sana in social welfare, gagamitin natin yan to fund our AFP modernization program. That's the reality. We have to get the money somewhere. So actually, yung help ng US, not just with EDCA, but yung broad military alliance ng Philippines with the US, helps alleviate some of the domestic concerns ng Pilipinas. And that's very important because ang number one concern ng Philippines ngayon ay economic issues, inflation, no, presyo ng mga bilihin. So, kung for example, no, lately na-criticize ng Duterte camp yung Marcos admin that na, you know, mag-focus ka na lang on economics, focus sa presyo ng bigas. Sure, of course. Totoo yan. And that's why we're having all these sorts of arrangements with international partners. Kaya ka nagkakaroon ng partnership para hindi lang ikaw yung nagbabayad ng defense requirements ng Pilipinas. That's it's actually a pretty realpolitik calculation on the part ng Pilipinas why we are doing what we are doing right now.
Okay.
Just one more question before I give the mic to my handsome co-host, Inform Sir Bakwezal. Sir, do you think that there's a um chismis that we will build a military an EDCA site to Batanes? Do you think that it's uh, provocative to China that we should not do it? Or and another question is that in the event that China invades Taiwan, because Xi Jinping made a statement that he will reintegrate Taiwan by whatever means, to be later on retorted by him that US is just playing the games and they will not fall into the trap of the US. Do you think that uh, we can maintain if China invade Taiwan, we can maintain our neutrality? Because given that we are party to MDT, that we are obliged to meet common dangers to our security and the very existence of our state.
Good two-pronged question. No? So, yung on your first question, no, yung kung provocative ba yung pagtayo ng military bases in Batanes, which for the benefit ng reader is nasa northernmost part ng Philippines, no? At yung Batanes is actually mas malapit siya sa Taiwan than it is to Manila, no? So, yun lang yung the basic geography of it. Okay, so on that point, no, I do think that in the short term, of course, it will be provocative on the part ng China kung magtayo tayo ng military facilities doon, no? Primarily because yung tinatawag na security dilemma na hindi alam ng Pilipinas bakit tayo nagtatayo ng base. Hindi alam ng China yung intention natin ba't tayo nagtatayo ng base doon. Kasi at least, no, may argument coming from China that, or at least pro-China trolls here in the Philippines na bakit tayo nagtatayo ng military bases in Northern Luzon when the bulk of our conflict with China is in the South China Sea. That's a fair point, no? It's a fair question to ask. Pero kasi, if you really look at it, problematic yung ganong argument because ang goal ng Philippine defense policy is to defend our archipelagic waters. And that means we have to defend the entire border ng Pilipinas, which spans north, south, east, west. So, meaning to say, dapat naman talaga we should have military bases and missile defenses across lahat ng panig ng Pilipinas, no? So we should have bases in Northern Luzon, we should have bases sa Southern Mindanao, bases sa Palawan, bases sa side ng Samar and Leyte in the eastern part of the Philippines. So personally, tingin ko wala naman talagang mali na magtayo tayo ng base in the northern part of the Philippines because it is a defense requirement. It just so happened na malapit siya sa Taiwan. Pero if you really look at it, pag tinignan mo siya from a defense policy angle, we are building all these bases because we are securing our borders. So if you're saying that we should not build military bases in Batanes, then you are saying that hindi tayo dapat magtayo ng protection along our border, which is of course, frankly, very ridiculous. So of course, magagalit yung China that we are building so close to Taiwan. Pero that's really the necessity of it, no? Now, we have to build all these defenses across the perimeter of the Philippines. So, sa totoo lang, I think mali yung China doon na tinitignan kasi niya yung mga military bases ng Philippines as necessarily anti-China. Whereas, yung itong mga bases na to, even without the China threat, kailangan natin i-construct to eh. So, in very simple terms, that's how I view yung pagtayo ng Philippines ng military bases in Batanes. Now, ibang usapin yung, of course, there have been rumors that, of course, the United States wants to support the placement of missiles, for example, in some of these EDCA sites, etc. Of course, again, no, that's something that might provoke China again. Pero, ang key point kasi dito is, we cannot let China's comfort level dictate our defense policy. Kasi, for example, yung pag-stand up natin to China in the West Philippine Sea, China deems that as provocative. Ngayon, So hindi porke galit yung China, ititigil mo na yung isang defense project. That is actually an indication of a weak defense foreign policy, no. So we have to continue the construction of all these sites because pag tinignan mo talaga yan, these reinforce the military position of the Philippines. It's always better to have more bases around the archipelago rather than few. And essentially kasi, ang hindi masabi talaga ng China dyan sa Philippines is that don't build military bases. Yun lang naman yung gusto ng China. Don't build an airport. Don't build a naval facility. So in short, ayaw ng China na mag-improve yung defense ng Philippines. No? Yun yung simple logic behind it. On your second question on the Taiwan issue, I'll try to be a bit more technical here because I do agree with you that, of course, we have mutual defense treaty obligations with the United States, and there's a realistic possibility that the United States will call on the Philippines to aid any attempt for them to defend Taiwan, if and when, sakupin man ng China yung Taiwan. But realistically, what is the United States requiring of the Philippines? Ang nire-require ng US from the Philippines is not for, the AFP to join the US military in, defending Taiwan, send our troops there, etc. What the US would most likely require from the Philippines is access to military bases. That's number one. Second is yung tinatawag na rear guard action or logistic support. So for example, if there's a conflict in the Taiwan, some of their ships will refuel here in the Philippines. No? So logistic support talaga siya. And yun yung advantage ng Philippines because the Philippines is very close to Taiwan, close to the South China Sea, etc. So we're going to help yung supply chain ng United States. Ako personally, I am very skeptical of whether Taiwan itself is parang that vital of a national security interest to the Philippines. We have to decide with it on a case-to-case basis. No, it depends on how China plans to take over Taiwan, and it depends on ano yung specifics ng military conflict na yun. It's a very important issue for the Philippines kasi a lot of yung mga manufacturing ng goods come from Taiwan. So if China gets control of that, it will disrupt also the Philippine economy for sure. And China might also try to attack EDCA sites here in the Philippines. Although I very doubt that possibility. I think that's more of a scaremongering argument on the part of some pro-China figures here in the Philippines. But overall, I think itong Taiwan issue should be decoupled from yung West Philippine Sea issue. Because if you ask a lot of actors here in the Philippines, we have consensus that if we are going to leverage alliance with the United States, it will be toward yung West Philippine Sea issue. Itong Taiwan issue, that is up for the future generations to decide. Hindi siya tier 1 concern, kumbaga, ng Pilipinas. And therefore, we have to disentangle ourselves from this. Naturally, the United States would want us to help in this contingency. But there are many ways to help without, directly involving ourselves in that conflict. For me personally, it's already enough that we have joint US rotational presence here in the Philippines. Kasi when you look at it, hindi naman totoo na hindi natin tinutulungan yung Taiwan just because we don't commit militarily to defend Taiwan. If you look at it, yung EDCA sites, for example, so the United States will be placing some assets here in the Philippines. Let's assume, years down the line, the US will also help us provide aircraft in those EDCA sites, Kapag lumakas yung US presence in the Philippines, that will also help deter China from attacking Taiwan, right? So, by beefing up Philippine security, we already indirectly help Taiwan by raising what we call yung deterrence vis-a-vis China. So, I think, careful lang ako dun na I don't necessarily agree that we have to intervene in a Taiwan contingency because I think this is really a matter very close to the heart of China. They will really not allow any foreign interference with respect to this, but Philippines on its own, just by cooperating with the US, with the EDCA sites, we are already contributing actually to military balance to help out Taiwan. And I think people have to realize that.
Okay, let's. I have another question about Taiwan. Uh, okay, can you hear me? First of all,
Yeah, yeah, I can hear
guys,
you.
is
I
my
can hear
audio
you.
clear? So you can scratch this in the final recording. Uh, what can you say about when we talk about Taiwan? Many of the for our foreign policy critics are saying, yeah, that we don't want to be embroiled in a proxy war between the US and and Taiwan. So that's their main argument, especially coming from some political groups critical of our foreign policy. So what in your opinion, what is the possibility of a conflict between US and China? I mean, uh, considering Taiwan, sasabihin nila kasi na madadamay tayo sa conflict. How do you counter argue, these things or this argument from what they're saying na okay, we are ginagawa tayo, nadadamay lang tayo, madadamay tayo sa ginagawa ng US. So is that how, in your opinion, do you agree with this? What is your stance with this kind of
Mm.
argument?
Ako actually nuance yung take ko on this, no. So, yun na mention ko kanina na I don't believe na 100% aligned yung strategic interests ng Philippines and and the United States. And the Taiwan issue is one of those issues na hindi tayo sigurado if it is worth enough going to war for, because ang limitation talaga ng Philippine Constitution is any conflict that we have to fight, it has to be defensive in nature. War is not an instrument of our national policy ayon sa ating constitution. So, ang only situation wherein we are 100% sure that we will utilize our military is if China invades the Philippines or part of it. No? So there's that. So yung Taiwan issue a bit on shaky ground pa to, whether we will actually help Taiwan militarily when the time comes. No. Pero ako, I would actually like to reframe the question, because it has always been used as an argument that it will be the Philippines who will be embroiled in a conflict between the US and China. But if you look at it, actually, people have to start thinking about the conflict between the Philippines and China. First and
Mm-hmm.
foremost, no? And I think this is really what a lot of people haven't really focused on. Like, for example, yung China started harassing yung resupply missions to BRP Sierra Madre sa Ayungin Shoal in the third quarter of 2023. So they said, bawal yung i-resupply yung troops nyo, bawal kayo magtayo ng facilities dyan. Essentially, tinatry nilang gutumin yung mga sundalo natin in the BRP Sierra Madre, for example. And since 2014, yung China nagtayo siya ng military bases close to Palawan, by the way, which is in the Philippines. So, bago natin tignan yung US-China conflict, ang akin muna, let us look at the Philippines-China tensions. That's very important, because I think people are ignoring that important military dispute right now. We're assuming that it's only the US and China having a conflict, but actually it is the Philippines is already in a protracted conflict with China, whether we like it or not. So the question there is, actually, the US has more to fear right now, because any incident in the South China Sea, naturally, if China will respond to it with force, the Philippines will respond in force, then magtatawag ang Philippines ng Mutual Defense Treaty, and the US has to, of course, aid the Philippines. No? At least that's how it's supposed to be. That's the process. It's a general line of thinking. So when you look at it right now, actually, mas maraming flashpoints in the South China Sea that are kinetic, no? Or meaning to say, merong active development. Kasi totoo talaga yan, na hinaharang ng China yung resupply mission ng Philippines. So what will happen pag binaril ng Pilipino yung Chinese Coast Guard when they try to prevent the resupply of BRP Sierra Madre? Will China treat that as a declaration of war, for example? No. So ang point doon is, actually, maraming yung mga near-term concerns natin is actually more on the Philippine side rather than on the Taiwan side. Kasi yung Taiwan conflict side, I think that's really a major military conflict, and China will think a lot about before that happens. But nonetheless, let's focus on the active conflicts right now, which are between Philippines and China. I think that's a better way to reframe it. No, can we be dragged into a conflict by with the United States? Naturally, that's genuine possibility. I don't discount that fact. But the reason why I say I think it's unlikely that we will be dragged into a conflict is, I think, in its deepest thoughts, I think yung China is still hoping na pwede niyang buwagin yung Philippine-US alliance. And the way to do that basically is to try to assure the Philippines that if they have a conflict with the United States, hindi nila idadamay yung Pilipinas, diba? That's really the grand bargain that China is doing right now. And conversely, that's the reason why China is engaging in scare tactics right now, na tinatakot nila yung Philippines that, if China invades, if China is in a conflict with the US, then naturally kayo Philippines, because you host US military assets, we're going to attack you as well. Pero I think that's also a stupid calculation on the part of China. Kasi essentially, if the Philippines does that, if China does that, then naturally the Philippines has to defend itself and therefore declare war against China. And of course, if China will attack US forces in the Philippines, that means China will also attack US forces in Korea, US forces in Japan, which by the way have better US military bases than the ones na we granted access to the US under EDCA. Kung ganun yung tinatawag na preemptive strike logic, no, na aatakihin muna ng China yung mga US bases around its neighborhood. But essentially, China is saying that if we have a conflict with the US, we're also going to declare war on the Philippines, on Japan, and Korea. And for me personally, I'm very skeptical of that scenario because China cannot take on all of these countries together, yung collective security perspective. So ang immediate and smart thing for China to do right now is to actually try to convince those countries to stop hosting US military bases. And that is what they're doing with the Philippines right now. So, that's the long answer to your question na ano nga ba talaga yung realistic goal ng China dito. And I think for China really it's really maritime dominance of the region. So I think hindi kasi na-emphasize yet a lot in the defense discussions. Ano nga ba talaga yung calculations ng China? We just tend to believe yung pananakot ng China that we're going to attack the Philippines, etc. But realistically, I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I think any Filipino who just accepts China's threats as a matter of fact, I think they're doing a great disservice to the Philippines. Kasi, you cannot just believe every threat by China. Obviously, you have to assess, credible ba yung threat nila or is it not credible? And my assessment right now is it's not a credible threat.
Justin, that is a good counter argument that you have just shared to our viewers. There are a lot of escalation points before a full conflict breaks out. Okay, so my next question is, how does, kasi yung AFP and the WPS task force, they're all mentioning about a strategy in terms of information. So they have what we call a transparency initiative. And the goal is to, of course, expose China's aggressive and dangerous actions in the West Philippine Sea, get as much videos and recordings, diba? When there is a confrontation between whether it's Philippine Coast Guard or Philippine Navy. So how does this information transparency initiative play out in the archipelagic defense in your archipelagic defense concept? How is this play a part?
Yung on this question, yung transparency initiative, I think yung bottom line kasi ng transparency initiative is really to inform the Filipino people of what China is doing within Philippine Exclusive Economic Zone, di ba? And essentially, by exposing China, the Philippines hopes to yung muster the determination of the Filipino people to stand up to China, because naturally you cannot just throw this under the rug na sige, hayaan na lang natin, we will tolerate everything that China does within our exclusive economic zone for the sake of peace. Sige, paparaya tayo. We cannot do that all the time. No? So if that is the definition of transparency initiative, then I do agree with it. No? There's nothing wrong with, in fact, there is even no question about the necessity to inform the Filipino people of what's happening in the West Philippine Sea and in other parts of the Philippines that are being encroached upon by China. There's no question about it. That's also part of yung archipelagic defense strategy natin, because the more we try to expose China to other countries, the more they are willing to help the Philippines help ourselves. No? And recently, of course, the United States Congress pledged $500 million to the Philippines, which is a big military assistance program, which is around, I think, 25 to 30% ng military assistance ng United States here in Southeast Asia. So that's a very big allotment. No? Ngayon, on the point of transparency initiative and where this fits in the archipelagic defense strategy, I'm a firm believer that kailangan moderated yung transparency initiative natin eh. Na, yes, we have to inform our people, but it doesn't mean we have to live stream everything. Kasi we should have that time to assess the facts, to also try to talk with China, hey, what happened here? Ano ba to? Was this utos ba to from the top leadership ng China, or whether your local ground commanders just made a mistake? Diba? And that's a fair enough planning assumption to have. If you notice, ever since last year, yung AFP, pag nagkakaroon tayo ng tensions in Second Thomas Shoal, for example, sa Ayungin Shoal, hindi naman pinapublish agad yan eh. Meron yang latency, meron yang delay. Like for example, 2 to 3 days, for example, before they talk to the press. No? And generally, I actually agree with that. No? Na dapat, hindi naman every single tactical incident we have to report what happens. Kasi at this point, it already goes without saying that China is harassing the Philippines. That's just a geopolitical fact. No? Ang concern ko kasi is, if you are overly transparent about it, no, every day papakita mo yung mga Chinese vessels in Second Thomas Shoal. At some point kasi, it might lead to the demoralization of the Filipino people. And that is a genuine possibility, I think, which has to be considered ng Malacanang. Because every single day you will show them, oh, ganito karami ang ships ng China, etc. There will come a point wherein the transparency will demoralize your people, and therefore, it will not be helpful in the overall defense policy ng Pilipinas. So I don't agree in a transparency initiative that live streams everything. No? So I think tama yung ginagawa ng government ngayon. It is trying to actually tone down the transparency while still keeping the general promise to inform our people of what's happening. So yung huling nangyari in Sabina Shoal, for example, yung pagpasabog ng China ng flares close to a Philippine Air Force surveillance vessel, if you notice, it happened August 6, and then they released it the following week. So merong 1 week na delay. That would allow them time to confront China about it. Most likely, hindi sila sinagot ng China. No? Dinedma sila, kaya sila nag-file ng diplomatic protest. But at the very least, I think that's a good effort on the part of the Philippines na hindi lahat ng tactical incident we have to blow it out of proportion. Kasi I think hindi rin maganda na ang pagtuwing nakikita ng mga Pilipino yung nangyayari sa West Philippine Sea, ang tingin nila every time, oh, malapit na ba tayo magdigmaan, etc. I actually think that's a very counterproductive strategy. We can take diba, merong saying na, talk softly, but carry a big stick. Meaning to say, na hindi natin kailangan ng megaphone diplomacy toward China. Frankly, I'm not a firm believer in that. We don't need to call out China's behavior every single day of the week. Because if you ask Filipinos, alam na natin yan eh. In fact, sawa na nga yung mga Pilipino na ang ginagawa na lang natin lagi is diplomatic protest, etc. Medyo gas-gas na nga siya eh. So, the public wants more action. And I think yung action component, sad to say no, in the short term, wala tayong masyadong military options. In the long term, yung military option natin talaga dyan is to improve the capability of our armed forces. And that will take years to happen. No? But thankfully, fortunately, right now, we are on the right track. We have the right archipelagic defense concept. We are modernizing our military. The Philippine economy relatively is doing very well. We have one of the highest growth rates ngayon in ASEAN, in fact. So we can afford to spend more on the military in the coming years. So actually, sa tingin ko, if you cut out the noise right now, if you look at the defense policy of the Philippines, we are actually doing pretty well, right? And my suspicion is that much of this, attempt to hype up the conflict is also partly a strategy by China because it wants to intimidate the Philippines. And I don't think it is in our interest to engage China in that kind of game. Kita naman natin, 'di ba, na magkaroon na ng konting gulo in Ayungin Shoal or sa West Philippine Sea. Marami na tayong legislators na natatakot because of it. Pero if you really think hard about it, no, you look at our neighbors, you look at India, for example, yung border conflict ng India with China, that there was a lethal incident, no, na talagang nagbakbakan yung tropa ng India and China doon, and it led to a few deaths without escalating to a broader war. Pero the goal of India at that point in time is to show China that we are determined to protect what we consider as our national territory. Proceed at your own peril. And I think that's exactly the kind of message that we should be sending to China right now. So transparency is a good thing, but I don't think transparency is the end-all, be-all of the Philippine strategy. So right now we have to properly contextualize transparency as a component of the strategy rather than the strategy itself.
Okay, I have a question before we go over to Dimas for the last set of questions. I like what you said about latency, right? Like we don't need to live stream or put it in a tweet as it happens, right? Like where yung mga geolocation ng Chinese vessel or Chinese militia, because that will of course play a part in demoralizing the Filipino people. So that's part of transparency initiative. Can we also employ strategic ambiguity? Kasi I think that is the opposite of I mean, in your opinion, is strategic ambiguity going to be a part in this strategy as well, not just transparency initiative, if I'm making sense?
Right. I do get your point. It's an interesting point. I think actually, to be honest, ever since before, meron talagang strategic ambiguity policy ang Pilipinas on what for us is what we consider a red line. No? President Marcos this year said na yung red line niya for a conflict with China is if may mamatay na Filipino in the West Philippine Sea as a result of all these conflicts. So, for him, pag na-breach yung threshold na yon, we will call upon the Mutual Defense Treaty with the United States. And naturally, of course, that will, lead to some tensions in the region in the short term. If magkaroon ng major confrontation between the Philippines and the US vis-a-vis China. So I think partly we are actually moving away from strategic ambiguity. Nagkakaroon tayo ng strategic clarity at this point in time. I don't think we necessarily have to be ambiguous. No? What we need is strategic flexibility. Ang problema naman kasi with ambiguity, like for example, during the previous Duterte administration, maraming nagawang tamang policy when it comes to military modernization during the previous administration. But when you look at it, ano nga ba talaga yung Philippine demands on China, right? At that point in time, hindi malinaw no? Kasi para ang assumption natin, we have to appease China all the time. We have to make peace with China at any cost. Peace at any price, diba? Which is an unsustainable defense strategy kasi hindi malinaw what exactly is our defense interest. Ano yung mga non-negotiable natin with respect to China. So I don't believe in a policy of perpetual ambiguity. Yun yung problema kasi yung ambiguity, okay lang yan if meron kang baseline policy. Ang problema sa Pilipinas, we actually don't have a set of baseline demands toward China kasi it varies from president to president. No? So, in that sense, I do
Okay.
prefer a bit more clarity on our defense policy with respect to China. Number one, what is our red line when it comes to the mutual defense treaty with the United States? What do we consider as a major escalation? Right? We need to be certain of that. And then number two, we have to be clear about our defense policy. Kasi actually, ang defense policy natin throughout administrations, hindi dapat yan pabago-bago, no? Na one president will threaten to kick out yung United States and then another president will be very close to the United States. Hindi siya healthy for the Philippines, no? It's something na hindi appreciated by some of our Southeast Asian neighbors as well. So we actually need to converge on a common policy baseline on that. And hopefully, more presidential candidates agree on a common policy baseline. Kaya sila dapat tanungin come the next election on what their China policy is. Kasi hindi naman pwedeng 180 degrees tayo all the time, no, with respect to China.
Yun nga, the challenge is every 6 years nagbabago yung foreign policy. So I hope we can sustain, whatever good that is happening with our current state of affairs. So I'm gonna go to Dimas for his last questions before we end the podcast. So Dimas, please ask away, and then we'll conclude the podcast after.
Sure thing.
Yes, sir. Sir, with regards to yung potential flashpoint, we all know that China is the policy of China, or the strategy of China in the West Philippine Sea is intimidation. They want to intimidate us. They want to flex their bulging muscle in order to intimidate us, to cow us into submission. Um, uh, do you think that China in, will use military or armed attack against our personnel, our military? Is there a chance? Because if no, kasi in history we have in 1950s, when China was weakened by internal dissensions, when American advanced to North Korea in the Yellow River. MacArthur was dumbstruck when Mao Zedong ordered his army to counter the advance of the American-led forces, including the Philippines, expeditionary forces, and it led into a culmination of 38 parallel and another in 1970, 79, I think, in Usuri River in Sino-Russia border, where China launched a preemptive attack. Do you think China is prone to, even though their strategy is just to intimidate, do you think there is an opportunity or a chance that they will use armed attack against our military?
I think yung calculus ng China with respect to the Philippines is actually mataas ang threshold nila for the Philippines, no. And I think, to be fair to China, they've also been careful not to lead to any lethal incident. And because, to be honest about it, I do think China is still afraid of the Philippines trying to activate the mutual defense treaty. So I think China is still very cautious about an all-out armed attack against the Philippines. And secondly, meron yang political reason behind it. The reason why China doesn't do a frontal armed attack against the Philippines, of course, is because, okay, let's assume for the sake of argument that China will do this. What do you think will happen to the domestic climate here in the Philippines? People will be up in arms. Now, we will be very angry at whatever China is doing. And when that moment comes, and I think China is also thinking about this, the Philippines will more likely be accommodational of US presence in the Philippines, which is another a separate issue which they don't want. So they're intimidating the Philippines, but they're intimidating us to a point that they think will not be overly provocative, such that we will 100% go on the side of the Americans. I think they're also preventing that. because the worst thing for China right now is for the Philippines to become similar to Japan and Korea, where there are, US bases. They have thousands of troops forward deployed in those countries. So I think China is preventing that. So on that calculus, I think China will be very cautious against any armed attack to the Philippines. But for the benefit ng listeners, again, I would like to reframe itong line of argument na to again, no. The idea that China is not using an armed attack against the Philippines is a very dubious concept, no. Yung tinatawag na gray zone strategy ng China, wherein gagamit sila ng short sword, mga bolo, 'di ba? Mapupugot yung daliri ng sundalo ng Pilipinas. They could claim, yes, it might not constitute an armed attack, but it is actually a use of force, no. So I don't really mind the threshold all this much, because I think this is really hair splitting. I think we have to go back to the strategic point in all this, which is that whether we like it or not, whether we admit it or not, yung military actions by China are to the detriment or kabawasan ng Philippine national security. Totoo, hindi tayo binobomba ng China, totoo, hindi tayo binabaril ng China at the present. Pero tignan naman natin yung actions ng China, no? 2014, nagkaroon ng massive reclamation in the South China Sea. Beginning 2015, 2016, ginawa nila ng mga military facilities yon. They put aircraft hangars in those areas which are capable of having fighter aircraft. And right now, they're trying to push us out of the West Philippine Sea area by their now perpetual state of blockade of the area and yung harassment of our Filipino fishermen. So hindi mo siya matatawag na armed attack. But if you really look at it, all of those things are, I would be very frank about it, it's a creeping invasion of part of the Philippines. Now, I don't believe that, China intends to occupy the entirety of the Philippines. But I do think that they are interested in trying to get a huge slice of our maritime zone. And unless we prevent them, they're going to continue doing that. So I think itong conversation about armed attack, I know this has always been raised in the Western media na ano ba yung threshold ng Philippines of an armed attack, etc. But for me, it actually it sidesteps the important question. Do we consider China as a national security threat? And my answer is, we would be stupid not to consider China a national security threat. So our conversations right now should not focus on whether it is an armed attack, whether it will warrant X and Y, etc. I think there should be no question right now that the Philippines should be responding to China. Dapat nasa planning stage na tayo eh. We should be planning how to counteract China, not to discuss itong mga nomenclature of whether China will intend to utilize an armed attack on the Philippines, etc. They are already engaged in a campaign to militarily undermine the Philippines. So let's focus on that. Whether there will be armed conflict as a result of that, that's another matter. Pero they are already in an active military campaign to weaken the Philippine position in its neighborhood. So I think we should focus on that.
Thank you, Sir
Interesting
Bukoy.
points, Justin. Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions in line, Justin, but we'll just reserve the rest of our questions for the next podcast, where we can have you again as our
Of
guest.
course.
So yeah, thank you so much for being with us tonight on Sitrep. So can you tell the listeners or our viewers where we can find you on social media? Do you have where can we find you?
Yes. Meron akong Twitter account. It's Justin_Bakisal. I mainly focus
Okay.
on commenting about Philippine defense affairs. Please do have a visit. Occasionally, I will publish articles here and there about Philippine defense policy. So I do hope your viewers take a look.
Do you have Facebook? Just or TikTok?
No, actually, hindi ako nagpo-post masyado on Facebook or TikTok.
Yeah.
Pero I do hope, just for the listeners, I do hope na, of course, we could have made itong discussion very, very technical, no? Pero ako kasi, I focus more on the first order principles, meaning to say, ano ba yung essence of the matter, no? Kasi I think it's very important for us to reach out to our fellow Filipinos and have a look about ano nga ba talaga yung nangyari. Kasi I think minsan nalulunod tayo with, all these developments, ang daming terminologies, anong name ng missile, anong name ng ship,
Correct.
etc. But ultimately, this is a very political question for Filipinos. Are we going to stand up to China or not? That's the basic question. So, tinatry ko lang of course, I will spare I spared the listeners of all the technical side of this, yung mga archipelagic sea lanes bill, etc. Which I hope they would also appreciate. Kasi let's focus on the strategic issues that are of importance actually, and that can start by reframing how we look at all these issues. Kasi ang tactic ngayon with a lot of very pro-China figures in the Philippines is masyadong nilulunod with a lot of counter arguments about bakit yung US ginagawa nila to, bakit yung ganito, ganyan, ito history, we were colonized by the US, etc. Pero actually, ito ang bottom line ko. We have problems of today. We cannot always go to the problems of the past. We cannot always go about problems 50 years into the future. We have problems of today. And what I want yung readers to understand is this, na actually yung Philippine defense policy in the past years from President Aquino, President Duterte, President Marcos, actually if you look at it, it's very constant. It's all about improving our military capability, projecting that military capability in our waters so that we can defend ourselves against national security threats. And the chief national security threat at the moment is China. So that's the basic Philippine defense policy, regardless of what specifics we might have. So let's proceed from there, and we should plan out the defense policy on how to respond to that. Because I think a lot of the counter arguments against the policies of the current administration, for example, they don't actually give us a very concrete defense policy. Like for example, let us be friends with China. But how does being friends with China address the fact that China has militarized islands in the South China Sea? How does that address the fact that they have a near constant presence sa exclusive economic zone ng Pilipinas? No? How does it address yung fact na hinaharas nila yung fishermen natin? These are operational questions that, frankly, I have yet to hear them give an answer to. No? Of course, we have to have good relations with China. We have to pursue peace where we can, pero we have to stand up where we must. And I think that's the important point in all this, because nalulunod yun in a lot of all these very technical discussions. And I do hope our leaders focus on the basics and we leave we let the technical discussions run its course. But that's the reason why we have a government. That's the reason why we pay the government, so that the government, pay taxes, so that the government thinks of all of these defense strategies for us. But for me, I am not convinced that we have had a counter argument to that essential defense policy of strengthening our military to defend ourselves. Because who in their right mind would oppose the Philippines standing up for itself? So I think yun yung the balance that we have to strike going forward. And I think Filipinos have to rally behind that defense policy, because if you really think about it, there's nothing really wrong about it. We can disagree whether we have to cooperate so much with the Americans or not. But for me, one thing is very clear. I think any president going forward has to stand up to China. Whether you stand up to China with the assistance of the US or not, with the assistance of Japan, Australia, etc. or not, that's debatable for sure. But whether or not you will stand up to China, that is no longer part of the question. You have to do it. So I think people have to disabuse themselves of yung idea na somehow we can just be friends with China and all of our problems will disappear. We have to earn China's respect, and we have to do it by standing up for ourselves. That's the bottom line. I do want yung mga reader to take away from this conversation.
Okay,
Yung conflict with China
one
is
last question.
structural in nature. Sure thing. Yeah, go ahead.
One last question. Okay, so we always ask this to every guest before I go to the mass. Okay, this is what is your reaction uh to the people who are saying that the about what the behavior of US basically it's because of the Monroe Doctrine. So what is your opinion? Do you agree with this or not that whatever US is doing here in the Philippines it's basically part of Monroe Doctrine. So what can you say about that? This is a common argument that we hear in on X, by the way. So
Na parang the US is just doing this out of its own self-interest to retain dominance on both sides, no, from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Here's the thing, no, why the reason why I don't entertain this argument is because I
yeah,
believe
yeah.
na there has been a lot of geopolitical development since the Cold War, no. I don't think the US is a waning power, frankly. I just think that China is becoming stronger. It doesn't mean America is becoming weaker, right? For that matter. Ang nangyayari is we are having a multipolar global environment wherein there are many powers to consider. No? So hindi lang China, hindi lang US. There's also India that's on the rise right now. The European Union is still a major power. Japan is still, a major power. Hindi lang siya great power, but it's still a major power. And all of these countries to consider. No? So hindi na siya hegemonic global order wherein it's the US is the only big kid in the block, so to speak. But I don't agree with the characterization that everything that the US is doing is just to pursue its self-interest. No, actually, if you really look at it, of course, the US has its own agenda about it. No, but ako kasi ang tingin ko, everything is a transaction in international relations. Everything is a business. So, ang tanong lang talaga dyan is the Philippines objectively getting what it should from the United States without entangling itself with other unnecessary commitments that come with partnership with the US? And I think so far we're doing a good job there right now. And in fact, if the last 8 years have proven to us anything, it's that the time of yung natuta tayo ng American or whatever, it's over, right? During the Duterte administration, the Philippines was able to threaten the United States that, hey, we're going to cancel the visiting forces agreement, we are pursuing a new defense policy, etc. And what does that show you? It shows everybody that we are actually at a stage wherein mas may greater strategic agency yung Pilipinas to decide for ourselves what our foreign policy is going to be. And it just so happens that at this stage in our history, marami tayong strategic alignments when it comes to the United States. We share a common threat perception of China. We share common values as well with them. No, not perfectly 100% aligned, but we are quite westernized as a country, frankly. And there's nothing wrong with that. Why is it, ang counter-argument ko talaga dyan, there is nothing wrong with that Filipinos identify with the United States culturally, socially, economically, perhaps. No, it's still also the biggest investor in the Philippines. So there's nothing wrong with that. No? It's part of our right. Meron kasing counter-argument ngayon na parang we have to have Asia for the Asians, parang ganong counter-argument, we have to kick out the United States. But you have to remember, no, nung World War II, narinig na natin yan, Asia for the Asians. Japan did this. Yung Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere, no? And what did Japan do? Japan invaded the rest of the region. So what I think is, yung argument ng China na, Asia for the Asians, ganyan, I think this is just, for me, it's useless identity politics, no? Gumagawa lang siya ng identity politics that somehow just because China is Asian and Filipinos are Asian, therefore, we have to band together against the Americans, which is a really preposterous thing to have, no? Kasi it detracts from the real issue, which is yung behavior ng China on the ground. So I don't care if you're white, brown, yellow, whatever. I only care about the behavior you show to the Philippines at sea, at air, diba? sometimes even at land, no, they might have spies here in the Philippines, here and there. So I look at behavior. I don't look at color of your skin, whatever. No, I think yung appeal to identity politics na yan doesn't work in the Philippines because Filipinos are smarter than that. We ally on the basis of self-interest, not mga identity politics na to. So the world has changed from the Cold War, and the Philippines is in a better footing economically, socially, and politically to make the partnership with the United States a little bit more equal. Not 100% because we're still talking about the US as the main global superpower. Pero we do actually have enough of a respectable footing to deal with the United States better. We no longer have US military bases in the Philippines. Yung US only has rotational access to Philippine bases under the EDCA. That means we can withdraw that anytime, right? So meron tayong agency with respect to that. Secondly, ngayon, ang external defense natin is already being performed by the armed forces of the Philippines. We no longer rely on American troops here in the Philippines to do that for us. So we are in a better position now than we were in the past. Totoo in the past that we were a colony of the US. We pretty much went along with their demands during the Cold War. But the world has changed since then, and we are no longer a country like that. And you have to trust in the ability of our political leaders to navigate this political environment in advance what's best for the Philippines interest. So I think ngayon we are in a better position to put Philippines first in our foreign policy.
Okay, Dimas has a question. The last questions for the podcast. Go ahead, Dimas.
Thank you, Inform. Sir Justin, ilang beses na ako nakakalas. Pero just take the opportunity to have you here. This is a rare opportunity. Do you think America, in line with your answer earlier to the question of Sir Inform, do you think America and China will fall in what we call in geopolitics as Thucydides trap? And if no, do you think that possession of nuclear arms or arsenal of both countries plays a factor in the so-called mutual assured destruction?
Okay. Interesting if depressing topic to end the podcast. Pero I'd like to address this. Yung Thucydides trap for our listeners is it's an international relations theory na yung sinasabing declining power and the emerging power are which in this case yung US and China, they are structurally predisposed to be in conflict with each other regardless of their intentions. No? That's the Thucydides Thucydides trap. In broad strokes, I do tend to agree with this, no? Kasi parang yung confrontation between the US and China ngayon, it's really a structural conflict no? Talagang the United States is trying to use economic policy to try to bring back more jobs to the United States kasi much of the manufacturing moved to China after the Cold War from the 1990s. I do think na in general, yes, talagang bound for conflict itong yung US and China, but I don't think they're necessarily bound for military conflict. And the reason for this is as you mentioned, they have nuclear weapons, and both countries at this stage, they know that a conflict between them is not only devastating in terms of human lives, but also in terms of economics as well. So I think it's a similar situation to the Soviet Union wherein, tactically, there might be some instances wherein the great powers are looking like they are interested to go into a conflict with each other. But the overall deterrent factor of them fearing devastating conflict between them, I think that will force cool heads to prevail. I'm not saying that conflict between them is totally impossible. I do think it's a credible possibility right now. I just think that yung conflict will be a last resort for both of these countries. It's not like we're going to war next year dahil nag-awa yung China over some feature in the South China Sea or over some issue. over Taiwan. They are trying to manage their conflict responsibly. So I don't think we will necessarily enter into that conflict. And the nuclear weapons definitely play a big role in this. China's nuclear arsenal has continued to grow since 2021. In the past 5 years, I think yung nuclear arsenal nila has grown by what, 300%? No? So there is definitely military build-up occurring on the part of China. But I don't think that conflict is inevitable between these two countries. And my thinking is that, if conflict between these two countries is more likely, then all the more reason for the Philippines to prepare militarily as well so that we can defend ourselves. Hindi pwedeng, ano yan I call this the policy of being an ostrich. Diba yung ostrich, when you are threatened, it will bury its head in the sand. No? As a defensive mechanism. Hindi tayo pwedeng ganun. We have to build up the capability to defend ourselves. To defend ourselves. No? In the near term, we're doing that with support from the United States. Maybe in the long term, if we have a better economic footing, we can try to be a bit more independent, no? Down the line, and that's definitely a possibility. But for the Philippines, I don't think conflict is the first resort of any country, for that matter. So we just have to be prepared. We just have to prepare for greater geopolitical and military competition down the road. And marami tayong developments to address this, no? Yung reserve force development in the Philippines. We're trying to build the reserve forces. We're also try to have some sort of military service in the Philippines, although it's doubtful something will come out of that. If we're talking about a 1 to 2 year time frame, but at least there's an effort there. We're trying to build up the capabilities of the AFP. Right now, we're in the process yung multi-role fighter procurement ng Philippine Air Force. All of these things, all good things. No? So ako, actually, I would like to end on this note na actually Philippine defense policy right now is on the right track. In fact, it has been on the right track since 2014 when we legitimately tried to counterbalance China. Despite all this noise right now in the region that conflict is inevitable, etc. I think we are in the right track. We just have to sustain this defense policy that we're doing right now.
Justin, thank you so much for being with us on this podcast. We've learned so much from your viewpoints, and there should be a part two. And we look forward to having you on this podcast again. We can also do spaces on Twitter or X in the near future.
Sure.
So I'd like to also thank our co-host for tonight. It's Dimas. So Dimas, for our viewers and listeners, where can we find you? Are you on TikTok so you can promote your page?
Yeah,
Yes.
no.
Uh, First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Justin Bacuesal for the very informative and illuminating answer to all our question, and his patience in answering it. It is a honor, sir, to be talking to you. I hope someday we will I can join again wi- uh, with with you in a conversation like this. Yun po, makikita niyo ako sa Dimlas Ilaw 20 sa TikTok, and dito din meron din akong Twitter account. Ang Twitter account ko ay Dimas Ilaw 20. Thank you, Bro Infor.
Okay, so thank you, Justin. Thank you, Dimas, for being with us on this podcast. Don't forget to follow us on X. Our handle is at @citreph. We are also on Facebook, and where else? Soon on TikTok. So please follow us on Twitter, on Facebook, and we that wraps up our Citrep episode 15 with our guest speaker Justin Bakisal. And by the way, we are also on YouTube, so it's you can find us at Citrep PH as well with that handle. So thank you again, and yes, Philippines, mabuhay, and good night.